This one's pink frog. Wait.
Meet Havana Rush, an energetic 5-year-old girl with a bright future ahead of her. However, life did not start out that way for Havana and her family.
After a lot of failed attempts at getting pregnant, we were extremely happy to find out that we were going to have a child.
We were obviously very excited when we found out we were pregnant. Havana was an IVF attempt. So we had 6 prior attempts and a chemical pregnancy and a miscarriage prior to Havana. So when we found out we were pregnant, we were very excited. She was made with our last batch of embryos.
The Rushes were elated at being pregnant, but their excitement was tempered.
Let's do an ultrasound in 2 weeks. We did an ultrasound in 2 weeks, and it had progressed, but she was a week behind. And I guess they say at that stage in development, babies are universal. Like, they shouldn't be a week behind or a week forward. They usually measure on track.
During this time, Christina's sister Vanessa was also facing her own challenging pregnancy.
And at that point, my sister was 13 weeks ahead of us in her pregnancy. So it was that was our exciting time during our pregnancy.
Soon after that, Christina's sister Vanessa had a baby at 24 weeks. It was an emotional roller coaster for the whole family, and it started a conversation between Patrick and Christina about having a premature birth themselves. With fear from her sister's premature birth at the top of their minds, they tried to stay positive and move forward with their pregnancy.
We visited my sister and her baby in the NICU, and then because Havana had measured so tiny the whole long, we were at the maternal fetal medicine doctor. They said, okay, well, you're gonna go have an echocardiogram of Havana's heart because sometimes IVF babies have heart issues.
We were going in for our normal checkup at 24 weeks.
And it lies down on the table and they, take the wand and they're measuring around, and all of a sudden the tech goes, I'm gonna be right back. I need to go talk to your doctor. And we were like, ugh, this isn't good. And I also had felt at that point a lot of low pressure.
Patrick and Christina were bracing for the worst. When they heard the news, their heart dropped.
And the doctor came back in and looked at our belly and said, okay, so it looks like you're dilated and your Havana's foot is going through your cervix. And I said, well, that's kind of how it feels, in fact. So what do we do? And she said, you're gonna go to the hospital and you're not gonna leave the hospital until you come home with Havana, or until you have Havana.
She was on 9 days of bed rest at the hospital before Havana was born, which was an interesting story. We thought we were kind of through the woods, right? She got pumped with the magnesium and trying to help develop Havana's lungs and get things going along. And we were thinking that we were getting in a little bit of a groove and that Christina could be there for a while. Hopefully, right? She would be on bed rest and get us to 34, 36 weeks at least.
So Havana came out. I don't even remember if she cried. I don't remember. But they didn't intubate her right away. So they did bring her over. They showed her to us and said she's beautiful. And I just remember looking at her and saying, I'm not sure she's beautiful. Like, she looks kind of like a bird. And she's mine and I love her, but this is not the baby I anticipated.
When the nurse presented Havana, I'll be honest, I don't think they look like babies, right? They look, I can say this now, but it had the features of a child, but it certainly didn't look like any baby that I've ever seen before. And so my first reaction to the nurse was, is she gonna be okay?
With Havana in the NICU, Christina and Patrick's attention turned to how they're gonna care for Havana.
She was due October 12th, 2011, and she was born July 8th.
So she went to the NICU and then would be there for the next 124 days. And so we got to deal with all the everything that happens in a NICU, and seeing some real issues that happen. So that was something that, I don't wish on any parent.
So the next day, so I had her at 7 o'clock in the evening, and as soon as I got any sort of clearance from my doctors the next morning, we went down and we saw her, and I don't think we held her for another day or two.
Like many premature babies, Havana was suffering serious medical complications.
But she had, at some point, she had 18 diagnoses. She had brittle bones, she had a hole in her heart, she had kidney reflux, she had, the bilirubin light we needed, she had ROP in her eyes, she had abnormal brain scans at different points, but they were all just repeat and watch. She had, what else did she have? We had infections. We had 2 meningitis scares.
I think about, obviously we did a lot of the kangarooing. I couldn't tell you when the first time it was, but I remember, being able to put her on our chest and just, kind of sit there with her and, knowing that was good for her. I think that was the most important thing.
After 124 days in the NICU, Havana was ready to come home. This was an exciting time for the Rushes. However, it also meant they would be solely responsible for Havana's care from their home.
Don't think I even, part of me didn't want to take her home yet. I didn't want her to take her home. I didn't want to take a sick baby home. I wanted to take home a healthy baby.
I think we managed to take her home, but it was scary. I think I put that on my wife. Did a much better job with all of that than I did.
With Havana home and her condition improving, Christina and Patrick started to worry about her cognitive, mechanical, and social skills and how they would develop, and also her future quality of life.
Just what's life gonna be like? What's life gonna be like if my kid can't walk, if my kid can't see, if my child doesn't function up to her potential? I think that's still, my thoughts. There was a ceiling placed on, my feeling is there was a ceiling placed on Havana. Everyone can look at Havana and say she's doing great, and she is. And we are so lucky that she's doing so well, but I think she would have done better. There still feels like an early birth took a lot from Havana.
So I think that's one of the reasons why I feel like, we need to be involved with the March of Dimes to help give some answers to and give people a better opportunity going forward, because they've already done so much, but there's still situations like ours that you can do everything that you possibly can to make sure that you're going to try to have a healthy pregnancy and a healthy birth, but it's not guaranteed.
She was perfect. As a mother, I was the reason she came early, and that's always hard. That was super hard to sit with. It is super hard to sit with, that the reason she came early had nothing to do with herself, had everything to do with my body letting her down and letting us down.
With Havana growing into a bright and active little girl, she became a big sister to 2 healthy twin boys.
I dream that Havana is really happy in life. I just want her to be super happy. I want her to be kind. I want her to work hard and try hard and have friends and succeed where she wants to succeed. I do. I really hope she's a happy kid and a happy person, and that she finds something she's passionate about, someone she loves, and goes off into the sunset.